Hi, Emily. I looked over your lesson plan and here's my feedback. First of all, this is really cool. I love that you're providing the kids with some historical context, you're getting them into predicting, that you modeled how to predict, from looking at that cover to cover thing. This is like really well aligned. It's really good. There's just a few like little direct instruction things, but this is really good. It's really good. All right, so looking at, all right, like I said, I see a really good alignment between looking at what you're expecting your students to do and the established goals in there, okay? We saw your hook in class today, all right, with the Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. I think that was a really nice way to practice this skill, and it does a really good job at setting up the expectations for the skills you want to see from the students instead of focusing everything just on the novel. And I think that can, if done often enough, I think that really drives stuff home to the kids that the skills that we practice in language arts can be taken elsewhere. So I really like that. Okay, good transition into the book, that's what we're going to be doing, okay? When in your brief instructional piece right here, so you have, oops, sorry, didn't mean to highlight all that, right here, okay, intro contextual PowerPoint for The Great Gatsby, and students be taking 2-column notes. So I went and looked at your PowerPoint, really well done. What I want you to think about is when you have something, especially like, look at the time frame here, you've got a 20-minute time frame. Bear with me while I scroll one sec. I'm going to get to that PowerPoint. Right there, okay? When you've got such a large PowerPoint like this one, right? There's so many slides in here, okay? What I want you to imagine through in your lesson plan is this, okay? What is it that you're going to be saying as these pieces come along? Are there some slides, like this slide right here, where you, I don't know, you read it to them, they copy it down, and then what? What are they supposed to do from there? Or how are they supposed to use this information? Are they expected to know it or not? World War I ended in 1918. Disillusioned because of the war, the generation that fought and survived has come to be called the Lost Generation. Moving on to the Roaring Twenties. Like, holy cow, there's so much information in there. What does this idea of disillusioned mean? Okay, how can I get disillusioned because of the war? I thought World War I was like, I don't know, everyone was totally patriotic and behind it. What is this lost generation? What does that mean? What are you talking about? I would highly recommend taking this kind of a PowerPoint and really slimming it down to those specific pieces that you're going to want to connect to the novel, and then designing some discussion questions that come from, from some of each of these slides, okay? And this one here, like, I can think of 3 or 4 questions that we would want to ask, right? What does it mean to be disillusioned? What do you know about 1918? And be careful, because they're going to say things like, oh, well, the Roaring Twenties happened next, and after that it was the Great Depression. Yeah, but in 1918 they didn't know that. Why were they disillusioned, okay? Here you have, while the sense of loss was readily apparent among expatriate American artists who remained in Europe after the war. Whoa, stop the truck, right? What is an expatriate? Okay, why were there expatriate American artists who lived in Europe? Why did they have a sense of loss? Why was it readily apparent to them? Look at this one clause right here, and it's not even a whole complete sentence. I've got to get a lot of questions out of that, okay? And I think this is something that probably we've had done to us, is like death by PowerPoint, but one of those things where we don't want to turn around and do that to our students, okay? Think of this as a teaching moment, all right? And what is it that we can teach out of here? And do we need to teach it? Is this an essential piece of information for the kids to have for the text? If it's not, kick it, okay? All right, let's go back to your lesson plan. Excuse me while I scroll and scooch my screen and all that kind of stuff, okay? So I really want you to dig into this and make this a moment where you are teaching versus the PowerPoint providing information, okay? I love the modeling you've done here, right? Look at all of these symbols. Let's do a practice of what one symbol could mean based on information from, background information, and then break into groups and you practice it too. Really good idea, okay? when you're doing a verbal check for understanding, you might want to be wary. I can do these kinds of verbal checks for understandings with highly motivated college students like you guys. But when you do that in a classroom, sometimes it's not so bad. But sometimes here's what happens. If you look up and you see a whole bunch of students have their thumbs halfway, sometimes what that can mean is, I don't get it and I'm too scared to say. Or if I just do this because it's not all the way up, she won't call on me, right? A better kind of, a deeper kind of verbal check for understanding might be an explicit check here. Because, okay, shout out all the things you see on the cover, right? What about saying to them, okay, so tell me the first thing that you guys are going to, let's run over it real quick. What's the first thing you're going to do? Look for images. Great. So what's the second thing you're going to do? Attach them to stuff from the content. Great. Do you have to justify that attachment? Oh, are we writing why we're doing that or not? Is that the next step? Right? Things kind of like that, okay? I like the fact that you're having them commit to it in writing, and then you have them come back for a whole class discussion with those 5 symbols and look at all those pieces, okay? A really cool extension to something like this might be, we've got one symbol up here with 4 different possible connections. I wonder which one's going to be true. Does anyone want to defend their connection? After you hear that defense, does anyone want to change theirs? Just like a little piece in there that sets that expectation that I want you to make these connections, and every time you answer me, I want you to defend what you're saying, right? Use claim, use data every single time. And so then, they're ready for this independent practice. They've got this set, okay? You say that you're going to be reading the first 2 chapters of Great Gatsby. Keep your eyes peeled and underline, draw a little picture where you see each of these symbols in the text. That's really nice, specific purpose for reading. Here are the symbols on the cover. Here, these are the ones I want you to analyze. Read the first 2 chapters, watching for those symbols. Perfect, because now even the kid who's like, I read it, but I don't necessarily get it, I know what I need to do. I need to watch for those symbols and concentrate on them. And it's this great purposeful reading that'll help them feel really successful. So, nicely done. Just a few areas to tweak with that PowerPoint, okay? Thanks.